year was 2021. The Detroit Lions were coming off yet another miserable 5-11 season. Their star quarterback, Matthew Stafford, had just been traded to the Los Angeles Rams, leaving fans divided, confused, even angry. Jared Goff, the quarterback coming back in the deal, was hardly viewed as a savior. Many believed he was nothing more than a short-term bridge to the future. Adding to the uncertainty, the Lions hired a new head coach, Dan Campbell, a fiery, larger-than-life personality with zero head coaching experience, who talked about biting kneecaps in his first press conference. It didn't feel like a beginning. It felt like desperation. But in hindsight, this offseason changed everything for Detroit. What really happened that year to spark one of the greatest transformations in NFL history? To answer that question, we have to rewind to the beginning. This is the untold story of the single offseason that saved the Detroit Lions. Looking back, the Lions' so-called lost years were defined by more than just disappointing records. They were shaped by organizational dysfunction that wasted some of the league's brightest talent. Matthew Stafford arrived as the #1 overall pick in 2009, and he delivered on his promise. By the end of his Detroit tenure, Stafford had thrown for more than 45,000 yards and 282 touchdowns, setting franchise records along the way. For much of that era, he was paired with Calvin Johnson, whose rare blend of size, speed, and skill made him a Hall of Famer and one of the most feared receivers in the NFL. With two players of this caliber, the expectation was that the Lions would be perennial contenders. Instead, the franchise was mired in instability. The Lions cycled through 3 head coaches: Jim Schwartz from 2009 to 2013, Jim Caldwell from 2014 to 2017, and Matt Patricia from 2018 to 2020. Each new regime promised to change the team's fortunes, but the constant shifts in leadership only deepened the lack of direction. The offensive side of the ball was just as unsettled. Stafford worked with 4 different offensive coordinators in 12 years, each bringing a new system and philosophy. This revolving door made it nearly impossible for the offense to establish a clear identity or build on any momentum from year to year. Supporting Stafford and Johnson was another ongoing problem. The Lions struggled to assemble a reliable supporting cast, especially when it came to the running game. Opposing defenses knew they could focus on stopping the pass because Detroit's ground attack rarely posed a threat. In multiple seasons, the Lions ranked in the bottom 5 in rushing yards per game, failing to provide the balance needed for sustained success. Without a credible running game, Stafford was forced to shoulder the offensive load, often under heavy pressure from defenses that could key in on him. The postseason offered little relief. Despite flashes of promise, the Lions made the playoffs only 3 times during Stafford's tenure, losing each time in the wild card round. The 2014 playoff loss to the Dallas Cowboys stands out as the most painful example. Detroit led 20-7 in the second half and seemed poised for a breakthrough win, but the game slipped away. A controversial pass interference call that was picked up by officials became a defining moment, but the broader issue was the team's inability to finish games when it mattered most. The final score, 24-10 Cowboys, summed up years of frustration for players and fans alike. Even in seasons where hope briefly flickered, the momentum never lasted. Stafford's 5,038-yard passing season in 2011 led to the team's first playoff appearance in over a decade, and Johnson's 1,681 receiving yards in 2012 showcased just how dominant the duo could be. But every step forward seemed to be followed by a step back. The Lions couldn't string together winning seasons, and any optimism was quickly erased by disappointing records and missed opportunities. For the fan base, the pattern became all too familiar. Over Stafford's 12 seasons, Detroit managed just 4 winning records and averaged a 7-9 finish. The cycle of hope and letdown wore on both players and supporters. The situation reached a breaking point in 2016 when Calvin Johnson retired at the age of 30. Johnson's exit wasn't just the loss of a superstar, it was a symbol of a franchise unable to capitalize on rare talent. By the time Stafford requested a trade after the 2020 season, the writing was on the wall. The Lions agreed, sending him to the Rams in exchange for Jared Goff and 2 first-round picks. For many, this marked the end of an era, one defined by wasted opportunity and organizational missteps. The sense among fans was resignation, as if the team was set to embark on yet another rebuild with little hope for a different outcome. Yet, as the dust settled, there were signs that this time might be different. The changes that followed in the 2021 offseason weren't just about moving on from the past. They hinted at a deeper shift in the way the Lions approached their future. The 2021 offseason for the Detroit Lions was defined by a series of decisions that signaled a new direction, starting with the people at the top. Sheila Ford Hamp, who had become principal owner the previous year, made it clear she wanted a new vision for the franchise. In January, she hired Brad Holmes as general manager and Dan Campbell as head coach, with both reporting directly to her. Holmes came over from the Rams, where he'd built a reputation for spotting talent in the draft. Campbell, meanwhile, was known for his energy and no-nonsense approach, but he was an unconventional choice. His only head coaching experience had been as Miami's interim coach, and his introductory press conference where he talked about biting kneecaps quickly became infamous. Skepticism surrounded Campbell's hire. Detroit fans had grown wary of bold personalities and culture-first promises that never seemed to translate into wins. Campbell's approach was a stark departure from the polished corporate style of the previous regime, and many wondered whether his passion would be enough to change the team's fortunes. Yet, Hamp and Holmes saw something different. A leader who could instill toughness and accountability, and who could connect with players in a way the franchise sorely needed. The biggest move of the offseason, though, was the trade that sent Matthew Stafford to the Los Angeles Rams. This was the first time in the common draft era that two former number 1 overall picks, Stafford and Jared Goff, were swapped for each other. The deal also brought Detroit a 2021 third-round pick and 2 future first-round picks in 2022 and 2023. For the Rams, it was a push to win now. For the Lions, it was a chance to reset. Taking on Goff meant inheriting the final 2 years and $43 million of his contract, raising questions about whether he was just a temporary solution. Many analysts saw Goff as a bridge quarterback, a placeholder until the Lions found their next franchise signal caller through the draft. Holmes and Campbell didn't shy away from the challenge. They knew the roster needed a complete overhaul, and they weren't going to chase quick fixes. Instead, they focused on the 2021 NFL Draft, where Detroit held the 7th overall pick. With that selection, the Lions chose offensive tackle Penei Sewell, a player widely regarded as one of the top prospects available. Sewell's arrival was a clear statement. Detroit was going to build from the trenches, prioritizing physicality and long-term stability over headline-grabbing moves. The draft strategy continued into the later rounds. In the 4th round, the Lions picked wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown. He wasn't a household name on draft day, but Holmes saw something others missed. St. Brown would soon emerge as one of the biggest steals of the draft, quickly becoming a reliable target and a tone setter for the offense. The Lions draft class reflected a new philosophy: bring in players who fit the identity Campbell and Holmes wanted to establish, even if the moves didn't generate much national buzz. All of these decisions ran counter to the usual blueprint for rebuilding NFL teams. Detroit didn't rush to find a star quarterback or chase flashy free agents. Instead, they concentrated on building a foundation, strengthening the offensive line, stockpiling draft picks, and seeking out players with the right attitude for a long, difficult process. Campbell's focus was on effort and resilience, on creating a team that would fight through adversity rather than fold under pressure. The 2021 season itself was as difficult as many predicted. The Lions finished 3-13-1, one of the league's worst records, but the numbers only told part of the story. Despite a depleted roster, Detroit played with a level of competitiveness and grit that hadn't been seen in years. They pushed playoff-bound teams like the Ravens and Vikings to the brink, losing several games in the final moments. Their first win, a last-second touchdown over Minnesota, became a symbol for the new attitude Campbell was trying to foster, one that valued effort and perseverance, regardless of the outcome. Jared Goff's performance was uneven, but he showed flashes of the poise and leadership that had taken him to a Super Bowl in Los Angeles. Meanwhile, rookies like Sewell and St. Brown began to carve out important roles, hinting at the potential for a core group that could grow together over time. The Lions' record didn't improve overnight, but the way they played, relentless, physical, and unafraid of tough situations, caught the attention of fans and opponents alike. As the season ended, it became clear that the Lions were laying the groundwork for something different. The early signs of a new culture, one built on grit, accountability, and a refusal to quit, were starting to take hold. This foundation would prove critical as the team moved forward, setting the stage for the next phase of their transformation. The 2022 season was a turning point for the Lions. After a rough 1-6 start, the team refused to fall back into old patterns. A players-only meeting sparked a surge of determination that propelled Detroit to win 8 of their final 10 games, finishing 9-8, their first winning season since 2017. Jared Goff's growth was key. He set a franchise record with 324 consecutive passes without an interception, displaying newfound poise and consistency. St. Brown emerged as Goff's go-to receiver, while rookie defensive end Aiden Hutchinson made an immediate impact with 9.5 sacks, elevating a defense that had long struggled. By season's end, the Lions had graduated from mere grit and culture talk to real production on the field. The roster was no longer a collection of hopefuls. It was a team defined by emerging stars and a developed identity. Confidence grew, and the franchise looked ready to transition from rebuilding to contending. That momentum exploded in 2023. Detroit turned heads, tying a franchise record with 12 wins and clinched their first division title since 1993. More importantly, they secured their first playoff victory at Ford Field, a moment that ended a 32-year postseason drought. Jared Goff put together a career year, throwing 37 touchdowns with steady leadership that inspired trust throughout the locker room. At the heart of the offense, St. Brown earned All-Pro honors with precise route running and clutch plays, while rookie Jahmyr Gibbs added a dynamic rush element. The offensive line, carefully rebuilt over years, provided strong protection and created lanes that kept the offense humming. Detroit's scoring surged into the NFL's top 5, often dictating game pace. On defense, the Lions shed their reputation as a weak link. Aiden Hutchinson's relentless pass rush and leadership set the tone in their top-half league ranking for points allowed. Rather than a one-man show, the defense's success came from young players stepping into bigger roles and executing a clear, physical vision. This balance allowed Detroit to secure wins through both offensive firepower and defensive toughness. The playoffs captured the story of Detroit's transformation. Facing the Los Angeles Rams, the team that once traded to acquire Matthew Stafford, the Lions flipped the narrative. In front of an electric home crowd, Detroit's defense and Goff's mistake-free game sealed their breakthrough playoff win. Though their run ended in the NFC Championship loss to the 49ers, the 2023 season erased lingering doubts. No longer a league punchline, Detroit had become a respected contender with a strong foundation of smart choices, player development, and culture. This phase was about more than changing external perceptions. It redefined what the franchise believed achievable. Detroit's turnaround became a blueprint for any team stuck in a rut, proving that patience, resilience, and clear vision can together spark real success. With the foundation solid, the bigger question heading into 2024 was how far that momentum can carry the Lions. Building on the foundation laid in 2022 and the breakthrough of 2023, the 2024 season was nothing short of historic for the Detroit Lions. They appeared unstoppable through the regular season, blending a powerful offense with a stifling defense to control nearly every game. Finishing with a historic 15-2 record, Detroit established itself not just as a top contender, but as the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl heading into the playoffs. Their balanced attack, led by Jared Goff's steady hand and St. Brown's dynamic playmaking, combined with a defense that executed Aaron Glenn's aggressive schemes, made the Lions a team many expected to dominate for years to come. Yet, as dominant as they were in the regular season, the playoffs brought a painful reminder of just how sharp the leap to postseason success can be. Facing the Washington Commanders in the divisional round, Detroit stumbled out of the gate. The team came out flat, unable to match Washington's intensity or adjust when things went off script. Costly mistakes and missed chances piled up, allowing the Commanders to dictate the game's pace and momentum. This unexpected collapse ended Detroit's playoff journey much sooner than anyone predicted, clearing the stark contrast between regular season success and playoff toughness. The aftermath has been a sobering moment for the franchise. The cost of their rapid rise has hit hard, as both offensive coordinator Ben Johnson and defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn accepted head coaching roles elsewhere. These were the masterminds behind the systems that powered Detroit's offense and defense, shaping the gritty, physical identity that became the team's hallmark. Losing them leaves a significant leadership void on both sides of the ball, just as the Lions prepare for the next chapter of their evolution. Now, the Lions face a crossroads. They must replace critical leaders while preserving the grit and unity fostered under Dan Campbell and his staff. This transition will test whether Detroit can grow beyond regular season dominance and answer the playoff questions that still linger. The frustration of 2024's abrupt postseason exit serves as fuel, not just to return stronger, but to finally bridge the gap from contender to champion. Looking ahead, the Lions face a new set of challenges. Sustaining their progress will depend on maintaining a strong pass rush, adapting to changes in their coordinator staff, and preserving the culture that Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes established. The foundation built since the pivotal 2021 offseason, marked by the Stafford trade and Campbell's arrival, has positioned Detroit to make a legitimate championship push. The transformation has been called miraculous by Hall of Famer Barry Sanders, but the next chapter depends on the team's ability to stay focused and keep evolving. Do you believe the Lions are ready to take the final step, or will they regress in 2025? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and hit that like button and subscribe for more weekly football documentaries like this one. And if you like this video, you'll love our video about the historic rebuild of the Washington Commanders. All you have to do is click on that video, because it's coming up right now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.